Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Here we go. Lesson number 64, grammar, pero versus sino que. Pero means but, and you see two plus signs. Both verbs on either side of pero indicate a factual situation. Example, ella no estudia, pero saca buenas notas. She doesn't study, but she gets good grades. Both are factual statements. It's a fact that she doesn't study, and it's a fact that she gets good grades. Point number two, sino in translation can mean rather or instead, or but rather, instead, and they can be followed by most any word or infinitive. You see a minus sign and a plus sign. In a sino sentence, the first part of the sentence is negative, non-factual, and the second part is positive or factual. Sino cannot be followed by a conjugated verb. That's very important. Sino cannot be followed by a conjugated verb. It can be followed by an infinitive. There must be a no in front of the initial verb of the sentence. The second part of the sentence basically corrects and replaces the first part. Here are our examples. No vamos al cine, sino al teatro. We're not going to the movies, but instead to the theater, but rather to the theater. No vamos al cine, sino al teatro. So the negative is you're saying that you're not going to the movies. That's not a factual situation. You're not going to the movies, rather to the theater. And the theater is the factual situation. When you say no voy a trabajar, sino descansar, well, you're not going to work. So that's not what you're going to do, but you are going to rest. No voy a trabajar, sino descansar. So in a sino sentence, the beginning of a sino sentence is going to have a no in front of a verb, and it says that something's either not going to happen or you're not going to do something, but instead or rather, you're going to do something else, or in this case with teatro, you're going some other place. Now let's look at number 3, sino que. Just like number 2, it means rather or instead or but rather or instead. And again, it's a minus and a plus sign. And we follow it now with a conjugated verb, okay? The first part of a sino que sentence is negative non-factual, and the second part is positive factual. After sino que, a conjugated verb must follow. We know that after sino, if you have a verb, it must be infinitive, verb number 0. But in number 3, if you use sino que, you must have a conjugated verb. Okay? The second part of a sino que sentence corrects and replaces the first part. Example, no voy a dormir, sino que voy a trabajar. I'm not going to sleep, rather I'm going to work. So I'm going to work is replacing the beginning of the sentence. You're negating that. You're getting rid of it. It's not happening. The second part of the sentence is the positive sign. It is happening. Our next example, no ganó, sino que perdió. He didn't win, rather he lost. So the second part of a sino que sentence corrects the first part, right? He didn't win, rather he lost. I'm not going to sleep, rather I'm going to work, okay? So with our plus and minus signs with pero, what we say on both sides of pero are positive factual statements. With sino, what we say in front of sino has got to have a no in front. And after sino, you can use basically any word, but not a conjugated verb. It could be an infinitive. That's why the first example, no vamos al cine, sino al teatro. We're not going to the movies, rather to the theater. No voy a trabajar, sino descansar. I'm not going to work, rather rest. So in a sino sentence, the second part of the sentence sets the facts straight. The first part of the sentence is something that you're not going to do. It's not going to happen. The second part of the sentence is what is going to happen. That's why we go with a minus and a plus sign. In a sino que sentence, once again, the second part of the sentence sets the facts straight, corrects the first part of the sentence. That's why we have a minus and a plus. So you start off with a no and say you're not going to do something, rather instead you're going to do something else. For example, no vamos a ir al partido, sino que vamos a ir a la iglesia. We're not going to go to the game, rather we are going to go to church. So let's review again. With pero, what you say on both sides of pero are factual statements. Sino, it's a minus and a plus. Sino can be followed by a noun, any word other than a conjugated verb. It can be followed by infinitive. A sino sentence starts off with a negation at front. You say no something, and then you come with sino and come with basically the correction. For example, no vamos a cantar sino bailar. We're not going to sing, rather instead we're going to dance. The second part of a sino sentence basically corrects the first part. Now in sino que, it's the same thing. You're going to have a negation in front. You're going to say no something. Then you're going to come back with sino que and a conjugated verb. And the second part of a sino que sentence basically corrects the first part of the sentence. So let's go over it one more time. When you say pero, for example, él no tiene hambre, pero come mucho. He's not really hungry, but he eats a lot. It's a fact that he's not hungry, and it's a fact that he eats a lot. So on both sides of pero, you've got a plus and a plus. Factual statement. On sino, what you say first is a negation. No, blah, blah, blah. And then you come with sino and say what the correction from the first part of the sentence is. Again, the example was, no vamos al cine, sino al teatro, or no voy a trabajar, sino descansar. After sino, you can use any kind of word except for a conjugated verb, and you can use infinitives as well. And sino que is just like sino, but after sino que, you come back with a conjugated verb. So pero is a plus plus, sino is a minus plus, sino que is a minus plus. Sino and sino que are very similar. The first part of the sentence is a negation. The second part of the sentence is a correction or setting the record straight, and that's a positive sign. After sino, you can use infinitive or any other word other than a conjugated verb. After sino que, you have to use a conjugated verb. Okay, it's going to take time to get the hang of this. At some point, we will be posting worksheets for many grammatical concerns so that you can practice whether to use pero, sino, or sino que. But that's upcoming. But for now, you're exposed to the concept. You understand that pero is a plus plus, sino is a minus plus, and sino que is a minus plus. When you hear native speakers speak Spanish, or you read something, and if you look at a sino or a sino que in a sentence or hear it, in front of it, you're going to get the no. The no, you'll get a negation in front, and then you get like a confirmation on the other side of what's really happening. And on pero, you hear both factual statements on either side. So what I'm asking is, listen for people when they say pero, understand what they're saying, and run the checklist on it. If you hear someone say sino, before they say sino, you should hear a negation, know something. And then at the end of sino, you're probably going to hear an infinitive or any other word other than a conjugated verb. And if you hear sino que, you should hear a negation, a no phrase in front. And then on the other side, you should have a conjugated verb. Okay, that'll do it for lesson number 64. It's kind of I don't want to say difficult, but it's something that isn't really prevalent in Spanish, but it does exist, and you will see it as you get more advanced. So there you go, pero, sino, and sino que. Hasta la próxima lección. This is Profesor Pablo signing off. Cambio fuera.